A shape-shifting UFO menaces a supermarket. A neurodivergent Ronald McDonald harasses citizens and law enforcement at a Florida strip mall. A pub owner in the UK doesn't believe in ghosts until finally he does, I guess. In our headline story, a decades-old underwater camera is finally recovered from the bottom of Loch Ness after more than 50 years. All this and more right here. Yes, I'm Skinnee White, and this is Mysteries from Behind the Beyond. Weird news, ancient enigmas, monster sightings, ghost stories. If you're into that sort of thing, click like and subscribe. And let's get down to our first story before I am replaced by AI. We all know it's coming. On March 22nd, 2025, a bizarre shape-shifting object was seen at least 100 feet in the air over a Winn-Dixie supermarket in the Florida town of Cove Springs. Here's video. Peak weirdness indeed. While it's worth noting that the shape-changing and completely silent object was sighted less than 20 miles from Naval Air Station Jacksonville during a training exercise announced the very same day, that's convenient, it's clear that the craft, or whatever it is unusual even by military standards. Thusly, I have a few questions. Is this thing not obviously made out of some kind of fabric? It seems to be flimsy in some places, rigid in others. Kind of like my channel, I'm so sorry, I'm trying. Think grill cover, or tent, or tarp. Now imagine if one of these objects were swept up by the wind, or more specifically if one of these had fallen off of or out of a plane during these military exercises that were happening on the same day. BT dubs, the skies are busy over Florida. If a TIE fighter from Star Wars just went right over your head, you wouldn't blink. In fact, you'd just be mad that you were rudely interrupted by this really loud piece of military hardware in the sky. I mean, that happens. In Florida, that happens, dude. I grew up down the street from the Goodyear blimp, and when they lit that thing up at night, every kid in the neighborhood was staring up at the sky like Travis Walton. You know what people do for fun down there? They watch VTOLs and B-2 bombers buzz up and down the beach. Or they've got enough money they get in the cockpit and do it themselves. I'm just saying, if this is the technology of the aliens, then they need to start buying American. Help us help you, Gnort. All right, let's move on to a story about a clown. Okay. Deranged clown harasses a Central Florida strip mall. Civilians at a shopping plaza in Palm Bay, Florida again, huh? Were harassed for the second time by a man dressed as a clown on March 24th, 2025, and based on reports, he wasn't doing any favors for the clown community, or the non-clown community, for that matter.
Watch it, Rodney. Put yourself down. Don't put yourself down. Step it up. Come on, it's free. On the ground. Gabby, now! Turn over now. Turn over now. Got a tug on my face. Stupid.
Christopher Marlowe, aged 40, had already been issued a blanket trespass by local law enforcement earlier in the month. Perhaps due to incompatibilities between human law and clown law, this order was not enough to keep Mr. Marlowe, a self-proclaimed clown, from donning a garish yellow suit and stalking the property a second time, using foul but not unreasonable language. To wit, when told by law enforcement that he, quote, looked like a clown, Mr. Marlowe replied, quote, "No shit, I am a clown, stupid. I've been a clown," unquote. As of this broadcast, it is not known whether or not Mr. Marlowe is in fact still a clown, nor if he is the only clown. We'll keep you updated. And now, a mystery fact. Sometimes referred to as the Clown Cemetery, Showman's Rest in Forest Park, Illinois, is the burial site of 56 to 61 circus performers That is an incredible fact. Let's do some more news. Lab-grown dire wolf, because why not, right? A bunch of decided to take man's best friend and rewind the tape back to a time where the same creature was man's deadliest enemy. No word yet on cures for cancer, free energy, or world hunger. Like and subscribe. Here's another story. Ghost breaks glass at UK pub. A pub called the Woodman's Arms on Isle of Wight, United Kingdom, uploaded footage to TikTok that seems to show a glass being pulled violently off of a shelf by an invisible force. Let's have a look. The owner of the Woodman's Arms, Harry Fletcher, says that he was warned upon buying the property that the pub was haunted by a spirit named Fred. Fletcher, 39, maintains that he was skeptical about Fred, and ghosts in general, until witnessing the event shown in the footage. Ah! Ow! Whoa, boy! The video has been viewed millions of times on TikTok, where commenters are divided, posting scared face emojis, rational explanations, or tagging Aunt Tammy. And now for our headline story. An underwater camera is recovered from the depths of Loch Ness after more than 55 years. Nessie research was at a fever pitch in the 1970s, with scientists like Robert Rines and Roy Mackal utilizing sonar, hydrophones, and underwater photography to try and apprehend one of the world's most elusive cryptids. Now, after more than half a century, a time capsule of sorts has been accidentally discovered and thankfully recovered from the depths of the loch.
An underwater robot named Bodie McBoatface by the internet was performing a routine exercise in Loch Ness 426 feet beneath the surface when its propeller snagged some old mooring. Bodie then knew, if robots know anything, that it had picked up a stowaway. Now unable to continue with its pre-programmed daily mission, Bodie swam home to its nerdy overlords. And there it was, a pristine 1970 Kodak Instamatic camera, completely dry inside a metal and plexiglass container, and it hadn't seen the sun in 55 years. An artifact from a 1970s experiment mentioned in just about every book about cryptozoology I ever read as a kid. Proof, not of Nessie, but of man's feverish desire to find Nessie. And regardless of whether the Loch Ness Monster is just another casualty of the 70s, this gear survived. Awesome. As the NOC would soon discover, this Kodak Instamatic was likely one of 6 that were deployed in Loch Ness in 1970. These were fitted with mechanisms that would cause the camera to snap a series of pictures if bait, usually nets of salmon, was snagged. It's this same type of camera which was responsible for the notorious flipper, long neck, and gargoyle images from the 70s. 3 of these cameras were lost long ago during a gale, taking their secrets with them to a watery grave. But this Instamatic seemed to be one of them. What's more, the NOC, operators of Bodie, discovered that the camera had, at some point, snapped 2 pictures. They had them developed. There's no creature in the pictures, just water and peat particles. But it was this same sort of camera rig that snapped these famous pictures, whatever's in them. Be they pictures of salmon or of floating logs, these are snapshots from deep in the murk of a gigantic ancient crack in the earth, receipts proving that the world did and does have a desire to explore it. Just a year prior, they were broadcasting from the moon, or at least they said they were, with reasonable clarity. Therefore, this object on the moon is a rock. But this object in Loch Ness could be anything, etc. Except all of this, they say. Except all of this. Apparently, we know what's on moons and planets better than we know what's in our own oceans and lakes. To quote Brother Theodore, how can we claim to see behind the beyond when we can't even see beyond our behinds. In 1970, it was a camera in a jar. Today, it's a robot named Bodhi. But if tomorrow you could swim down there and see for yourself, well, then Bodhi would be out of a job.
After developing its photos, the NOC gave the camera and its housing to the Loch Ness Center in Drumnadrochit, where it will be displayed as another fascinating piece of the Loch's history. And that's all the time you have for me today. I've been Skinnee White. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you behind the beyond.